A Hand in the Dark continued. Consciousness came to me slowly. I became aware that I was in bed, or in a bed, at least. It wasn't my bed, though. It smelt wrong. It felt wrong. I started to open my eyes and instantly regretted it. The blackness had changed just the tiniest bit, but it was enough to make me aware of the pain. A full body, pulsing pain that started at the back of my head and throbbed through my body. Not a migraine. I managed to have that thought. What happened? I didn't know. I could see the light behind my eyelids change, the tiniest sliver of light coming from somewhere in front of me. I turned my face into the pillow. The light receded, and I was gone. There may not have been many people at the hospital because everyone was in line at the Taco Bell drive-thru. At least Charlie felt certain every hospital visitor and employee must be waiting in line here, in front of him as well as behind him. He'd managed to crawl his way toward the Order Here speaker with its various menu items and an almost readable display. The car in front of him had finally pulled forward, and he was now trying to scan the food options for anything that sounded even vaguely appealing. A voice squawked from the speaker. "Welcome to Taco Bell. Can I take your order?" "Just a second. Nothing looked good." "Yeah, I guess I'll have a number 2, mild sauce, Diet Coke. That's 2 tacos with mild sauce. Will Diet Pepsi be okay?" "Sure." Suddenly his cell phone started ringing with an incoming call. "Did you want any dessert with that today?" "Sorry, 1 second," Charlie yelled at the speaker while trying to grab his phone. It was an unknown number, local. They could leave a message. He wondered if it was the hospital. But, "Hello? Will there be anything else today?" "Hi, I'm here. Sorry. No, nothing else. Just the tacos and Pepsi, Coke, whatever. Thanks." "Thank you. That'll be 537 at the second window." Charlie put the car into gear and pulled forward almost a car's length. There was still 5 cars between him and the second window. He watched the car behind him as it tried to inch close enough to shout an order, while not actually making contact with his back bumper. He inched his cruiser forward. The cars were moving faster in front of him as money exchanged hands. Bags and cups, napkins and straws appeared through a window held out by a hand, the arm disappearing from view. Other hands appeared from cars, everything disappearing from view once again. Brake lights went off and tires rolled. Another car's length of forward progress was made. He gratefully pulled up to the second window, handed a $10 bill to the barely visible face behind the tiny sliding glass window, accepted the change and tossed it into the seat next to him with one hand, while grabbing a paper bag with grease already seeping through and cup mostly filled with ice with the other hand. Cup and console, bag tossed on the seat with the change, and Charlie was finally out of there. He didn't even leave the lot. He pulled into one of the parking spots for Eden Diners a few spaces away from the doors and picked up his phone, hitting the messages icon immediately. "Yes, Officer Wilkins, this is Dr. Adams from University Hospital. I know you are probably stuck in line somewhere trying to get something to eat, but you did ask that I call you with any change. Regarding Miss Campbell, she's fine. She is starting to regain consciousness, though, and I thought you would want to know that. As I said before, even if she does wake up, she probably won't be in any condition to talk. But you asked us to let you know. Thanks." Charlie listened to the message again, the tacos still in the bag, cooling in the seat next to him. They didn't smell any more appetizing now than they'd sounded earlier. He hit redial and got the hospital switchboard, who had to connect him to the CCU. Eventually, the line clicked again. "Dr. Adams, who is this, please?" "Hi, doctor. This is Officer Wilkins. You left me a message about Elise Campbell?" "Of course, officer. Miss Campbell's condition is stable, and she's starting to regain consciousness. She's still pretty out of it, though. Did you have lunch yet?" Charlie glanced over at the bag. "Yeah, I'm good. I'll be right there." "There's really no need to rush." "No problem. Thanks, Doc. See you in a couple minutes." "Well, fine. I'll let the nurse know." "Thanks. Great. Bye." Charlie disconnected the call, put the cruiser into reverse, then out the driveway, and was heading towards the hospital once again. All the spaces close to the elevators were taken. Charlie tried to be patient as he circled the multi-floor underground parking structure. He considered just parking in one of the designated emergency vehicle use only spaces out front, but he finally found a space on the 5th level as he was heading towards the exit. It was only about half the parking structure away from the elevators. He arrived at last at the CC nurses' station. A different nurse was there now. Her tag just read, El Gutierrez, RN, LPN. Charlie started to pull his badge, and she just pointed and waved him behind her. He glanced down the hall and saw Dr. Adams heading toward him. So he said a quick thanks to the nurse and made his way around to her desk and back to the hallway. Officer Wilkins, hey, come on back. She's sleeping now, actually sleeping. I'd really rather she wasn't disturbed. I understand, Doc. Has she said anything? No, her EEG's showing increased brain activity, norma delta waves for the most part. That's typical sleeping brainwave cycles. Oh, okay. I would like to see her for a minute if I could, Charlie said. The doctor gave him a critical glance. 5 minutes. Don't disturb her. You know where the call button is? Charlie nodded. He'd find it. If he needed it. Good. If she wakes up, call the nurse. Charlie nodded again. Like hell he would. The doctor nodded and waved to the door, tapping on his wrist. He'd be watching the time. Stifling a retort, Charlie nudged the door open and slipped into the room as quickly as he could, pushing the door to quietly behind him. He looked towards the bed. The room was dark enough that it took his eyes a moment to adjust. He could just make out the shape on the bed and a small form in the middle of the bed. He walked over very carefully, glancing at the monitors, arranged like sentinels standing guard around the bed. There was no sound. Nothing beeped, and the screens were dimly lit, providing a source of minimal lighting. He picked up a chair from under the window and set it down quietly next to the bed, sitting down as silently as possible. For a moment, he just listened to her breathing. She was laying on her left side, facing him. He could just make out the lens still clutched in her right hand and tucked into her chest. Her left arm was outstretched toward the bed rail, the IV line taped to the inside elbow with a board, restricting her ability to bend that arm. He gently placed his fingertips on her wrist to check her pulse, but Elise remained still. It had been an automatic gesture, and he'd had an instant of pure terror that he might startle her. He noted her pulse and respiration were more stable, which was a relief. He started to lift his hand when her hand moved under his.